From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, For the People is there.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this Thursday's edition of For the People. It's May the 4th, 2017, and it is the National Day of Prayer, and something that I do very frequently and proud to say. Faith can be very, very personable, given the person. Some people articulate their faith, and some people through service and acts of service and things like that. Prayer, to me, affects a great deal, and I have learned something with prayer that if you don't do it, good things don't happen. Today is the National Day of Prayer, and in the Rose Garden today, a very important executive order being signed for religious liberty and freedom of speech, and Christianity has been attacked big time. Other religions, Judaism has been attacked. Muslims would say they've been attacked as well. And so many other religions, but it's been under attack. Christianity increasingly, Judaism has just been under attack. It's been terrible. We've seen it through the years, and, the bringing back prayer to the White House, something that Barack Obama did not do, did not observe, didn't really pay it much credence. To have Franklin Graham at the Rose Garden today for this signing, and so many cardinals and religious people today, just brought tears to my eyes to see it, because it's good news. And unfortunately, a lot of the history that's in the books that our youth are being taught today do not reflect what our founding fathers honestly believed when they penned the Constitution, when they settled here in America, and what they wanted to do. They literally prayed and waited on God for his divine authorization, if you will, his will to be done in our country. And we need to pray more often as a country. And for Donald Trump to say what he said today is huge. And we're going to listen in to a little bit of what he had to say just a little while ago. Here he is.
Thank you very much to Vice President Mike Pence. I am very fortunate to have Mike with me. He's a man of very deep faith, I can tell you that. Great character and conviction. And Mike, thank you very much for making this journey with me and with all of us. Believe me, it's been great to have you. I also want to thank Pastor Jack Graham, Cardinal Donald Wuerl, and Rabbi Marvin Hier for leading us so beautifully in prayer. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to mention, as you know, Cardinal Donato and all of the other great faith leaders that we have. I see Franklin Graham. So many are here. So many great friends. So many great supporters. And we very much appreciate it, because we're a nation of believers. Faith is deeply embedded into the history of our country, the spirit of our founding, and the soul of our nation. It is a beautiful thing to see these three faith leaders from three very different faith traditions come together to lift up our nation in prayer. And it's great to do it at the White House, isn't it? Isn't that great? Because not only are we a nation of faith, but we're a nation of tolerance. As we look at the violence around the world, and believe me, it's violent. I get to see it perhaps better than anybody. We realize how truly blessed we are to live in a nation that honors the freedom of worship. Today, my administration is leading by example as we take historic steps to protect religious liberty in the United States of America. We will not allow people of faith to be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore. And we will never, ever stand for religious discrimination. Never, ever. Tolerance is the cornerstone of peace. And that is why I am proud to make a major and historic announcement this morning and to share with you that my first foreign trip as President of the United States will be to Saudi Arabia, then Israel, and then to a place that my cardinals love very much, Rome. These visits will take place ahead of the NATO G7 meetings and will begin with a truly historic gathering in Saudi Arabia with leaders from all across the Muslim world. Saudi Arabia is the custodian of the two holiest sites in Islam, and it is there that we will begin to construct a new foundation of cooperation and support with our Muslim allies to combat extremism, terrorism, and violence, and to embrace a more just and hopeful future for young Muslims in their countries. Our task is not to dictate to others how to live, but to build a coalition of friends and partners who share the goal of fighting terrorism and bringing safety, opportunity, and stability to the war-ravaged Middle East. We all pray that we can make a difference. We pray for peace. Just over 150 years ago, President Lincoln called for a national day of prayer today, after he feared that we were becoming a nation too proud to pray to the God that made us. Today we recall President Lincoln's words as we sign a proclamation designating today as National Day of Prayer. That's what we want, a National Day of Prayer. And it's so great to be doing it in the Rose Garden. How beautiful is that? It was looking like you'd never get here, folks, but you got here. Thank you. Thank you very much. So true. And we remember this eternal truth. Freedom is not a gift from government. Freedom is a gift from God. Amen. It was Thomas Jefferson who said, "The God who gave us life gave us liberty." Our founding fathers believed that religious liberty was so fundamental that they enshrined it in the very First Amendment of our great and beloved Constitution. Yet for too long, the federal government has used the power of the state as a weapon against people of faith, bullying and even punishing Americans for following their religious beliefs. That's been happening. That is why I am signing today an executive order to defend the freedom of religion and speech in America, the freedoms that we've wanted, the freedoms that you fought for so long, and we are doing it in just a little while right over here.
And it's actually been signed already. So a big day for religious freedom and the announcement of Donald Trump's first overseas trip, going to Saudi Arabia, going to Israel, and then going to Rome. So it'll going to be a big deal. And, you know, listening to Donald Trump talking about, calling on our Muslim brothers, because it's we need an alliance. We need their cooperation more than anything to combat this evil. And if we can get an alliance with them to get on the same page together to root this out, because it affects them too. I mean, there's terrorism that's affecting all of these countries, and it's just getting worse. So if we can, again, get an alliance and work that out, the deal maker can make that happen, that would be a beautiful thing. Can healthcare, can it really work for America? So many people have so many negative things to say on the left about it, just going off vehemently, just spewing it off because they just thought that even though Obamacare imploded, the Republicans certainly could not have done a better job, which is just ridiculous. I mean, right now it's imploding all around. It has to be fixed. So Tom Price, he's the Human and Health Service Secretary, and we're going to ask some questions here. His take on repeal and replace Obamacare and everything that's going on right now. Here he is, Tom Price.
Announcement that two major insurance companies were either announcing they're pulling out or planning to pull out of Iowa and Virginia. So the system right now isn't working. What the system that we believe ought to be put in place, and we believe the bill will move us in that direction, is a system that's more affordable for folks, allows for access to kind of coverage that they want, not that the government forces them to buy, allows patients and families and doctors to be in charge, and provides significantly increased choices for patients, because that's how you get not just costs down, but you get the system responsive to real folks.
All right, Mr. Secretary, 3 times you have tried to do this. Now, do you feel you have the votes today, which is what, 214, 216? What do you say?
It feels like it. I spent 12 years up there on the Hill with my colleagues working on issues oftentimes as difficult as this, and it feels like it. There aren't any assurances, obviously, but it feels like it. But the fact of the matter is that regardless of what happens, and I think it's going to happen today, but regardless of what happens, the system again is failing the American people. You've got a system where we've got a third of the counties in this nation that only have one insurance issuer. You have 5 states where there's only one. You've got counties that are now realizing that they aren't going to have any insurance company providing coverage for them in the individual market next year. That's a system that's failing the American people. So here at the Department of Health and Human Services, we're working on the kinds of things to stabilize that market, to make certain that we can allow for choices for individuals, and listen to patients, listen to the folks out there in the real world, because right now the system is failing them.
Well, listening to the folks in the real world, these are the folks you, Mr. and Mrs. America, that are paying those hefty prices and can't even get the proper medication because they cannot afford it. And a lot of people actually have died because of it, or have gotten worse, which is just terrible. Now, critics are teeing off already. Democrats are on the floor of the House, and they are not happy. Nancy Pelosi, she put out this statement, and quote, House Republicans are going to tattoo this moral monstrosity to their foreheads, and the American people will hold them accountable. Is, I got to ask, seriously, is this what this is? I mean, come on.
Oh, I think the American people are really sick and tired of the political hyperbole that they hear coming out of Washington. Remember, these are the same folks that said that if you wanted to keep your doctor, you could keep your doctor. If you wanted to keep your insurance plan, you could keep your insurance plan. If you wanted to vote for something that was going to bring down the cost of health coverage, that was it back then 7, 8 years ago. Fact of the matter is, none of those things are true. What we want to do is have a seamless system, not pull the rug out from anybody, make certain that individuals are able to gain the kind of coverage that they want for themselves and for their family that's of the highest quality care.
All right, Secretary Price talking about health care. And now here's another question, because this has been big rumored around that this terrible GOP health care plan is going to leave. And the left is sounding off on this, sound of the alarm, that 24 million Americans under this plan won't be properly insured.
I don't believe that number is accurate because it's looking at a very small slice of what we're doing. The entire plan itself, we believe, will increase coverage. Remember